Picture this. You walk out your back door on a Tuesday morning, basket in hand. You stop at the coop, a dozen eggs still warm. You check on your meat birds right on schedule. Then you wander through your raised beds and pull a handful of zucchini, a head of lettuce, a fat bunch of green beans. You're back inside in 15 minutes with enough food to feed your family a real meal. From your own backyard. That's not a fantasy. That's what I do every single week. And I've been doing it for over 15 years on a piece of ground no bigger than a lot of people's front lawns. Today I'm going to show you exactly how this system works. Eggs, meat, and vegetables all coming out of one small backyard week after week without burning yourself out. Let's get into it. Let's start with eggs. Eggs are the easiest, most consistent food you can produce at home. Once your hens are in a rhythm, they just deliver. 6 to 8 good laying hens, that's all you need. Not 20, not 50. 6 to 8 birds running well will hand you somewhere between 25 and 35 eggs a week. Every week. That's more than most families can eat, which means you've got extras to share with neighbors, barter with, or sell. Now breed selection matters more than people realize. I push toward dual-purpose breeds. They lay a steady stream of eggs, and when their production winds down, you can put them in the freezer. Rhode Island Reds, dependable layers, tough birds, reasonable carcass when the time comes. I've run them for years. Barred Plymouth Rocks are another one. They don't quit in cold weather, lay through the year better than most, and they're calm enough that they're easy to handle. Black Australorps are worth a look too. They've outperformed every other breed I've kept for pure laying consistency. Any one of these will serve you well. You don't need a huge coop. 6 to 8 birds need about 2 to 3 square feet each inside the coop, and ideally 10 square feet each in a run. You can build that in a weekend. I've seen people do it in smaller spaces than they thought possible. Here's something that changes everything once you figure it out. Your chickens and your garden aren't separate projects. They're partners. Between growing seasons, I run my hens through the empty garden beds. They scratch up the soil, eat every pest and weed seed they can find, and they drop manure everywhere they walk. By the time I'm ready to plant, that bed has been tilled, debugged, and fertilized, all for free. That's the closed loop I'm talking about. A chicken tractor makes this even easier. It's a portable coop and run combined. You move it around the yard on a schedule and the birds work the ground section by section. Takes about 5 minutes to relocate it. The impact on your soil is real and fast. Daily time with your laying flock is about 10 to 15 minutes. Water, feed, collect eggs, quick check. That's it. Now let's talk about meat. This is the part people feel most unsure about. But once you do it the first time, it becomes one of the most satisfying things you'll do on your homestead. The way I run meat production is in batches. Every 8 to 10 weeks, I bring in a new batch of meat birds, raise them for 6 to 8 weeks, depending on breed, process them, and they go into the freezer. Do that cycle consistently, and you've got home-raised chicken available all year. For pure efficiency, Cornish cross is the industry standard for a reason. They grow fast, they convert feed well, and in 8 weeks you've got a 4 to 5 pound bird ready to process. The downside is they're not the most active birds. They're bred to eat and grow, period. You need to manage their feed intake so they don't develop leg problems. If you want a bird with more personality and more flavor, look at Freedom Rangers or Ranger-type crosses. They take a few weeks longer, but they forage better. They're healthier animals. And the meat quality is noticeably different. I've raised both, and I keep both in my rotation depending on what I want. A batch of 25 to 30 meat birds gives you a serious freezer haul. That's enough chicken to last a couple of months, especially if you're raising 3 to 4 batches a year. Now, if you're in a suburban backyard, you might be thinking, I can't raise meat birds. I've got neighbors 20 feet away. Here, what I'll tell you, it's more doable than you think with some planning. Batch size matters. You don't need 100 birds. 15 to 25 birds in a chicken tractor moved daily on your lawn is manageable on a small lot. The smell is minimal when you're moving them regularly. The noise from meat birds is nothing like roosters. These are quiet animals. Check your local ordinances, work around them, and start small. Processing day is the biggest step. If you're not ready to do it yourself, and plenty of people aren't at first, find a local processor. There are small-scale poultry processors in most rural and semi-rural areas. They handle the whole thing for a few dollars a bird. You drop them off, you pick up bagged, clean birds. That's still your chicken, raised on your land with your feed. You know exactly what went into it. Weekly time commitment for a batch of meat birds is about 20 minutes a day, filling water, moving the tractor, checking on the flock. That's it. It's not complicated. You just have to show up every day and do the basics right. All right, let's get into the garden, because this is where your backyard system really starts to sing. Fresh vegetables, multiple times a week, from a modest piece of ground. Raised beds are the foundation. I run mine 4 feet wide and anywhere from 8 to 12 feet long. 4 feet wide means I can reach the center from either side without stepping in the bed, which means I'm not compacting the soil. The soil stays loose and productive year after year. I use a mix of good topsoil, compost, and aged manure, a lot of that manure coming straight from my chickens. The single biggest mistake I see people make with vegetable gardens is planting everything at once. They plant all their lettuce in one go, it all matures at the same time. They've got more lettuce than they can eat for 2 weeks and then nothing. The fix is succession planting. Every 2 to 3 weeks, I put a new round of quick crops in the ground: lettuce, spinach, radishes, green onions, bush beans. By the time the first planting is done producing, the next one is ready to pick. It sounds simple because it is simple, but it requires you to think about your garden as a rolling harvest machine, not a one-time planting event. That mindset shift changes everything. Quick harvest crops are your best friends in a small backyard garden. Lettuce can be cut in 3 to 4 weeks from transplant, radishes in 25 days, bush beans in 50 to 60 days. Zucchini starts producing and doesn't quit. Kale you can cut and come back to for months. These are the crops that keep your kitchen stocked on a weekly basis. In a small suburban backyard, vertical growing multiplies your usable space without using more ground. I trellis my pole beans, cucumbers, and indeterminate tomatoes. You can grow a serious amount of food on a 6-foot trellis that takes up 2 feet of bed space. 3 to 4 raised beds, 4 by 8 or 4 by 12, is honestly enough to keep a family of 4 in fresh vegetables through the growing season. Add a few containers for herbs, and you've got a complete kitchen garden in a space most people are just mowing grass. Garden time, once established, runs about 20 to 30 minutes a day. Watering, weeding, harvesting, checking for pests. If your chickens have done their job in the off-season, your weed pressure is already low and your soil is already rich. The garden practically takes care of itself. Here, what I want you to understand about this system: the eggs, the meat birds, and the vegetable garden aren't 3 separate projects running side by side. They feed each other. And when they're working together, the whole thing becomes more productive and less work than any of the parts on their own. Your laying hens produce eggs all week and fertilize your soil as they go. Their manure, composted down, goes straight into your raised beds. Your vegetable garden produces plant scraps, weeds, and trimmings that go straight to your chickens as treats and supplemental feed. Your meat bird tractors prepare new ground for planting. Everything cycles back. Nothing is wasted. The time investment, once everything is set up and running, is genuinely manageable. 30 to 45 minutes a day total for the chickens, the meat birds, and the garden combined. Some days it's less. Early in the season or when you're setting up a new batch of meat birds, it's a little more. But on a normal week, this is not a full-time farming operation. It's a productive backyard that runs on a daily routine, and the payoff is real. I'm putting fresh eggs on the table every morning. Every couple of months, I'm loading the freezer with chickens we raised ourselves. And from late spring through fall, we're eating fresh vegetables out of our own ground multiple times a week. There's a feeling that comes with that which is hard to put into words. It's not just saving money, though you will save money. It's the satisfaction of knowing exactly where your food came from, that you raised it with your own hands. I'm not going to pretend it's zero work. There are cold mornings when you'd rather not go out and fill water containers. There are weeks when the garden needs more attention than you planned for. That's real farming, even at the backyard scale. But here's what I can promise you. If you start small, stay consistent, and let the system build on itself, it will get easier every season. Your soil gets better, your routine gets tighter, your confidence grows, and your dependency on the grocery store shrinks. Start with a small flock of laying hens. Get your raised beds in and try succession planting this season. Run one batch of meat birds and see how it goes. You don't have to do everything at once. Build it piece by piece and let it find its rhythm. If this is the kind of content you're after, hit subscribe and stick around. Every video on this channel is built around what actually works in a real backyard with real results. Get out there and get growing. I'll see you in the next one.